Imagine the sky on the 14th of July, 1944, a roaring twilight at 25,000 feet, where thunder rolled not from clouds, but from engines and anti-aircraft fire. Picture yourself there, suspended in that icy blue void, as 24-year-old First Lieutenant Ewald Swanson of the 483rd Bomb Group grips the controls of a B-17 flying fortress known as MISPR, tail number 423210. What thoughts raced through his mind as he guided his crew toward one of the most dangerous missions of the war? Their objective lay deep in Budapest, Hungary, a strike aimed straight at the heart of Nazi power. 60 flying fortresses pushed eastward in tight formation, and the moment they crossed into Hungarian airspace, the sky turned hostile. Walls of thick black flak erupted around them, violent blossoms of fire clawing at the aircraft. Explosions burst so close to MISPR that her tail was shredded, her wings peppered with lethal holes. Yet the formation pressed on, unbroken, like a steel tide moving toward its mark. Dear friends, if this video has reached you, it's not by chance. Right now, click the subscribe button and the notification bell. Write a number from 1 to 5 in the comments. I will personally respond to the first 50 comments, and make sure to watch the video until the end. The target ahead was the Ferencváros Railroad Yards, one of the most fiercely defended and strategically vital points left in the German war machine. Through these tracks flowed troops, oil, equipment, the lifeblood of Hitler's crumbling empire. And now, with mere seconds left before bomb release, Second Lieutenant Kenneth Dudley, the bombardier, steadied the Sperry bomb sight, lining up their run with careful precision. Then success. Their payload dropped cleanly toward the yards below. But triumph lasted only an instant. A sudden blast, an 88mm flak shell, detonated directly beneath MISPR's nose. In a blinding flash, the entire front of the aircraft vanished. Dudley and the navigator were obliterated instantly, their positions swallowed by fire. Blood sprayed across the front of the fortress. The nose sheared away, ripping upward over the fuselage, while shards of cockpit metal shot like bullets through the cabin, striking Sergeant Wesley Tucker, the wing gunner, in the chest. Inside, the temperature collapsed to minus 30 degrees. The violent structural damage pulled the aircraft's center of gravity backward, pitching the fortress upward into a deadly climb. They were seconds from stalling, seconds from spiraling down in a fatal plunge. And then something extraordinary happened. Despite having no cockpit, no protection from the freezing wind, and barely any instruments left, Ewald Swanson fought the wounded aircraft back under control. Inch by inch, he forced MISPR level again, and almost unbelievably guided her back into formation. The crew of a nearby B-17 named Yvon stared in shock. How could a blood-soaked, noseless flying fortress still be in the air? How could it glide beside them as though nothing had happened? But the miracle didn't stop there. With the cockpit gone, and the control column with it, Swanson's crew scrambled to obey his shouted commands. Imagine them there, hands numb, faces cut by flying debris, reaching into the exposed workings of the fortress to pull the raw control cables by hand. Each movement of the aircraft depended on their strength and coordination. Against all logic, this gutted flying fortress kept fighting, refusing to surrender. Still, over 200 German 88mm guns tracked the formation. Another explosion rocked MISPR a fresh burst of flak, tearing into the No. 2 engine. The aircraft groaned, slowing, losing altitude, losing power. Drag from the blown-off nose and shredded surfaces grew with every passing second. MISPR inevitably fell behind the formation. For 10 agonizing minutes, the crew wrestled with the control cables, desperate to put distance between themselves and the deadly nest of flak guns behind them. Then came Swanson's final command. They were too damaged to continue. The crew had to jump. One by one, 7 men bailed out into the open sky as Swanson held the failing fortress steady. When the last of them had gone, he tried to follow, but the crippled B-17 suddenly pitched upward again, trapping him inside. Clutching his parachute, he waited for the exact moment the fortress stalled, and when it finally did, he leapt. But fate had another twist waiting. As Swanson jumped, his chute snagged on the torn cockpit metal, ripping open violently. A disaster, yet a strange blessing. Had the chute not torn, centrifugal forces would have pinned him inside and dragged him down with the falling aircraft. Instead, Swanson was flung clear, so close he nearly struck the tail of the tumbling B-17. He blacked out as he plummeted from 20,000 feet. When his eyes opened again, the ground was rushing toward him. His damaged parachute barely slowed his descent. The landing would be catastrophic, perhaps fatal. But then, through the blur of wind and fear, he spotted what looked like a German POW camp hidden in a dense forest. A desperate hope surged through him. He maneuvered toward the treetops above it, praying the branches would cushion his impact. Seconds later, he crashed through the crown of the forest. Bones snapped, his left leg broke, branches slashed deep into his skin. But he lived. German medics from the camp found him almost immediately, dragging his shattered body from the underbrush and administering life-saving aid. Against all odds, Swanson had stared death in the face and survived. And then came one more miracle. Every member of Misper's crew had also survived. All had been captured nearby, and by some bizarre twist of fate, they reunited at the very same POW camp. A happy accident, they later joked, though the months ahead were anything but easy. For 9 long months, they endured the brutal winter and hardships of captivity. But on April 30th, 1945, American forces liberated the camp. The war, at last, was over for these 8 men. That night, the survivors of Misper began their journey back to the United States. For his courage on that terrible day, Ewald Swanson received promotion to lieutenant colonel before retiring from the U.S. Air Force. After the war, he returned to peaceful life in Michigan, where he married his beloved Catherine Swanson and raised their son, carrying with him forever the memory of the day he should have died, but didn't. Imagine, for a moment, the kind of bond that can be forged only in the furnace of youth and danger. For Swanson, it was the connection with his B-7 crew, those brothers in arms who had once stood shoulder to shoulder with him, that remained the most precious thread running through his long life. Across the decades, these men would gather again and again, veterans whose hands bore the traces of time, while their eyes still gleamed with the fire of shared memories. Can you see them? Old warriors trading tales of missions that defied logic, recalling the ironclad camaraderie they built when they were scarcely more than boys. Swanson's journey came to a peaceful close on the 28th of February 2009, when he passed away at the age of 89. He would be remembered not just as a hero of war, but as the only known pilot ever to fly an aircraft stripped of its cockpit. And perhaps only MSP and the brave souls willing to climb onto her back could truly grasp the weight of such an achievement. By the way, did you know that only 4.2% of those watching this video are actually subscribed? Weeks of effort go into crafting and producing these stories, while for you it takes only a heartbeat to hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything. It makes an enormous difference in helping us bring you this content. Thank you for watching.